Good evening. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Nashua Board of Education's Human Resources Committee at the Nashua High School Boardroom. It is now June 24th at 5:34 o'clock, and I'm calling this meeting to order. Can we begin with a roll call? Ms. Raymond? Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
I know, I'm sorry. Let us look at tonight's personnel recommendations. Are there any questions?
I did have some questions about the open positions. So Mr. Boss was kind enough to give us a list of about, I think, 150 open positions. I understand that the aldermen were discussing whether or not we really need all of these unfilled positions, or if we could just cut them out of the budget. But I also was under the impression from looking at our website that some of them are like math and science teachers. So can you kind of speak to what some of these positions are under the teacher bucket?
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't have a breakdown of what individual teacher vacancies that we have. I know our biggest needs right now are in the classroom level, in the elementary level. So like grades K through 5 is our biggest need right now at all our elementary school, or not all of them, but that is the biggest need I would say right now is the elementary teachers.
Okay.
Middle school staffing starting to work itself out. Same with our high school staffing as well. As you can see, we only have 5 vacancies open between the 2 high schools. So we did make some progress in the math department specifically. I think we do still have 1 opening, I believe, at each school. I can confirm that and give you accurate numbers next board meeting as well.
Okay. So in order to be able to, I guess my follow-up question then is, if, for example, we're not able to find all of those elementary teachers, what happens? And I know we usually do, like by August, we typically are pretty close to full staffed, but on the off chance it doesn't happen, what do we do?
So it could either be like either a long-term sub, or we're dividing the students and class sizes go up.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is to discuss the athletic trainer job position. Ms. Gingras, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Thank you very much. Just to give a little brief history on why this is coming to you, we have had a contract, as many of you know, with Performance Rehab for more than 35 years to provide our athletic training services. And a couple of weeks ago, Jerry and Michelle Holland, the owners of Performance Rehab, informed me that they are going to step back from this part of their job as they are nearing the point of retirement. Not yet, their business still open. Don't want people to get the wrong idea there. This was one thing that they are starting to take off their plate. So that left us in a situation, obviously, back in March or April, we did approve the contract to renew with them for the next 3 years. They are not signing that. They are not going to renew. So that contract at this point is null and void. So we found ourselves in a situation where look to other businesses in the area, and there are other local networks and businesses that also do a similar type contract. There are other networks as well that do a very different situation, but provide athletic training services. There are also a lot of districts in the state of New Hampshire that will hire their own athletic trainers. So they would be employees of the Nashua School District. So in a very short time, Mr. Posca and Dr. Andrade and Mr. Ray and Dan Donovan, we all met and kind of like brainstormed, like, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? Because obviously the safety of our students is very important, and football starts in less than 2 months. So we decided that we were going to attack this in two directions simultaneously to see which one, obviously, it's going to cost us more than that contract was written for that's in the budget. So one avenue we are pursuing, I did put out sort of an informal request for quotes from several companies, several networks, to see what that comes back as for them to staff north and south for us. But then we also talked about, well, can we explore the potential of hiring outright? So we can't post a position to entertain interest until we have a job description for that job. So we spoke, and then we spoke with Mr. Baus and talked about the ability to be able to have a quick turnaround. I put out quotes mid last week, asked for them by this Friday so that we can review them. And basically, we talked about if it's going to cost us as much money to contract with a company as it would to hire two people, one for each high school, do we explore the route of hiring them ourselves and they become employees of the district? So that's sort of where we are, and we're attacking it, as I said, simultaneously both ways. And Mr. Pasca and Mr. Baus were great to kind of fast track this, knowing you had a meeting tonight to be able to get the job description before you, hopefully get approved. So if we do make the decision to move in that direction, then the job's already been approved, the job description's been approved, and we could post those positions, as opposed to next week finding out it's going to cost us more or as much, and now we kind of either have to call an emergency meeting, et cetera. So that's why this job description is before you tonight.
Thank you. Does anyone have a question about it?
Thanks. I have lots of questions.
Yes.
Will both options go to finance so that they can kind of compare and contrast when you get the quotes back?
Do you want to answer that?
So we already kind of, speaking from what I spoke with the business department already, is we already kind of went and crunched the numbers to figure out what we spent on them. So that's kind of where the salary comes from in the top of the job description. So we know that that's what it's budgeted for. So we already know that aspect, but yes, they'll definitely review the different options once we get the different quotes to see if it's going to be feasible to what we already decided that salary was.
And then, so I have two other questions. And one,
Sorry. Just to remember that what you have in front of you is the job description for one
Right.
of the two high schools, and we would need two of them, just to clarify that piece.
right, so my follow-up question is currently, well, two things. What does the NHIAA require as far as athletic trainers? And two, we currently have more than one person assigned at each school typically, right? Like I feel like, because my son does track and I know that he's worked with an athletic trainer when he was injured, but she can't simultaneously be doing cross-country while she's working with football because they're
Right.
at the same time. So how many,
So the NHIAA requires an athletic trainer or an EMT medical coverage of some kind at least minimum football games. Football games cannot take place if there is not medical staff on site. It is highly recommended that all other varsity events have medical staff on site. I will be very honest with you, in the past 3 years, we have not been able to do that. There are times where, it got to the point we would have one person at Holman Stadium for say, one person at Stellos Stadium, one person was covering at South, and nobody was at North, or vice versa. Like, that's just one example. But the reality is there aren't a lot of athletic trainers out there right now. A lot of the networks and companies I've spoken to is they're having the same problem we're having hiring teachers and hiring assistant principals and things like that. The job network just job force isn't out there right now. So we do have opportunities to hire per diem trainers, which we have done that. So sometimes, if the North trainer is covering an event and the South trainer is covering an event, we might be paying in addition out of our part-time wages budget, which is already in the budget, we might be paying another person to cover a third event. But that's also assuming there's a third person available. So it's kind of been interesting the past few years, to say the least.
right? And usually hiring somebody on a per diem or a contract basis is significantly more expensive. I'm just thinking of our school psychologists. We consistently have a need for school psychologists that we can't fill with a full-time position. It costs a lot more to have our per diem psychologists come in.
Right.
So
So-
I'm really
so-
nervous about this whole thing now.
Yeah, so what we do when there's multiple events going on is obviously we assess risk. You know, a football game, a hockey game, a boys lacrosse game, little more risk of
Contact injuries.
contact injuries than a cross-country meet, but if you've ever been to the finish line of a high-paced cross-country meet, those are always interesting too. But you understand what I'm saying.
I
That,
do.
that we assess the risk. We always make sure, our coaches are all CPR first state certified. So at least there's some knowledge there, and we make sure that our coaches always know where the trainer is, so that if there is an emergency, South and Stellos aren't far away. Sometimes they've brought kids to Stellos. Sometimes the trainers left Stellos to come to South. And they always know that don't bother calling the trainer, just call 911 if you need to.
So I guess my last question is probably for Dr. Andrade. If we approve the job description tonight, does it come back to us for a second review before we actually commit the monies? I'm really worried about budget season right now and making sure we have appropriate staff everywhere, but this is a safety thing too, so I just want to see it again.
So the job description may not come back for you.
But the position.
But the position will, if we hire that position. Yep, absolutely.
Bishop?
If we end up in a position where we've hired people to do this on-site athletic training, but then an opportunity comes back up to contract with another company, how does that play out? Because now there are staff and we can't, there may be a way of getting more people into more games by contracting with the company, but we have these set staff that we are now obligated to, and we now no longer have the option of expanding services.
I would assume, like any staff, performance comes into play. And this is why, this is a hard question to answer. This is why we're going down both avenues at the same time. We honestly don't know if the potential quotes are going to come back and they are much less expensive than hiring out on our own, or if they're going to come in comparable. Or had a conversation with one person today, could be more. Because the other piece, we're looking to hire someone at a particular salary. If we contract with somebody, they're also hiring at that particular salary and want to make some money on us.
Right.
So that's where we're sort of at. But there are networks out there that I've been exploring where we can not contract with them, but become partners with them for just the per diem part, to have those extra people available sort of on call when we have those multiple events that are uncovered.
Is there an option of doing telemedicine? That's how we're doing our neuropsych consults.
For
at the
rehab,
hospital.
I would say yes. For post-injury analysis, I would say yes. For a student just got injured in the middle of a game on the field, I would say no. Because at that point in time, someone has to be there to assess the severity of the injury. Can the student be moved?
Yeah.
Can we rehab them? Do we need to call an ambulance? And everything shuts down until the ambulance gets here. So,
And I appreciate that, having had an injured daughter many a times on the field. She likes
and
to
I
get
always
kicked
tell the kids, just wave. Just let mom know you're okay.
Yeah.
Daniels Williams, you have a
So
question?
that brings me to my question. How about the EMTs, right? Can they be contracted to come out? Because it most likely would be less than hiring someone full staff, and they would have the availability to do everything but the rehab. But the rehab should be covered in the new program that we just purchased.
What program?
The one that starts for July 1st, like we just got, they sign up.
Our registration system, that doesn't have anything to do with our athletic trainers actually working with a student one-on-one to rehab an ankle injury or a knee injury or anything like that.
But be able to be contacted through that app and everything. We have the whole,
That is a way for the athletic trainers to communicate back to the students and the parents and the coaches about the rehab, but not necessarily actually doing the rehab. What was the first part of that question?
EMTs.
Oh, so EMTs are actually, Mrs. Raymond was just talking about the cost of paying people on a per diem basis. The EMTs are almost double what we pay our per diem athletic trainers. It's a by the hour, and I don't think we would be able to get an EMT at every athletic event every day. Like we have, we let the EMT service, our ambulance service, know when we have home varsity football games, and if they're available, they'll sit and wait for a call at Stello Stadium just as easily as they could at headquarters. And often they're not there because they're just so busy. So I don't know if I would want to go down that route on a regular basis. Potentially a per diem basis, maybe, but to have that be our sole provider of our services, I don't think that's in the best interest of the safety of the students.
Are you all set? Ms. Raymond?
Sorry, that made me think of one other one. Ms. Bishop's question did. Is this a non-affiliated position, or does it go under the teacher's contract because it's coaching related? I don't even, I'm guessing.
Yeah, coaches are not in the.
Oh, they're not in
contract,
there anymore. That's right. I
So it
forgot we
would
took
be
them out.
non-affiliated.
Non-affiliated.
Can I add one more? Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. My understanding is the approval of the job description tonight allows us, if we get to that point, to post the position, but not necessarily approve the final hiring. Is that correct? So we're kind of, again, we're under 2 months before we need 2 people in place. So we're trying to figure out which, and obviously budgets, I wish we had known this in January, but it is what it is, and we just need to do what we can do.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? Oh, sorry, Mr. Johnson?
Just a quick question. Would these be 2 equal positions, or would one be more of a above the other one?
They would be equal positions doing the exact same thing in the 2
That's
different
the
high
2 high
schools.
schools. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, then I'm looking for a motion that we approve the job description for athletic trainer as presented tonight.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Then we have quite a lengthy list of personnel recommendations tonight, thanks to our HR department. Hopefully, we've all had a chance to look at it. Are there any questions on that? Ms. Raymond?
I actually have a non-public question, and I'm wondering if now is an appropriate time, or if we should wait until we do all the other recommendations. Dr. Andrade knows what I'm asking about.
I think if we can do the other recommendations first, and then we can do that.
So we'll do personnel and then the non-public? Okay.
Okay, so looking at the personnel recommendations for tonight, is there someone who would make a motion to approve these?
I'll make the motion. I'm really thrilled at the progress. So way to go, everyone.
Yeah, and I just want to add, it's not just HR. The principals are working very hard for their interviews, getting everybody down. So kudos to the whole team, the whole district.
Thanks to everyone. Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Next, we have some administrative recommendations. The first is for a district-wide ELL. Oh,
So now is the time when I want my non-public.
Yeah, do you, I mean, other than that one position, we probably can do the other 3. It's up to you. I mean, it's,
I think my preference would not to be to lend people to know which one I have questions on to provide maximum privacy. Does that
Okay.
make sense? Okay, so I move that we go into non-public under RSA 91A3 hiring. B.
second.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So, we're back at 6:13, and we are going to, the next item on the agenda was personnel recommendations.
Administrative.
Oh, I'm sorry, we already did that. Okay. Administrative recommendations. So there are 4 items. The first is a district-wide ELL coordinator covering grades 6 through 12. I'm looking for a motion to approve that.
Is that somebody that we have here?
She is not currently here, but we do have Director Chopra in the audience if he wants to give a background to Dr. Murphy, who's still currently residing in Florida. So she hasn't transitioned up yet.
Oh, wow.
So
I like it when we introduce them to the community, and I know we're running late, so maybe really quickly. Thank you.
And we can always have her come to the next meeting too when she's here.
Yeah, I have a phone meeting with her tomorrow, so I'll get a better sense of when she's heading up. She did say that they were packing up to move, so hopefully she'll be here quite soon. She has a background. She's worked at, I think it was the University of North Florida. She has a doctorate, and the position that she'll be filling is the ELL coordinator from grades 6 to 12. Miss Putnam will be K through 8. With the plan being we have overlap in the middle school, so we have consistency. And both of these positions really are going to help us implement our curriculum and also coordinate much better than we have with the other content areas. So we can hit on those standards for the content areas and the ELA in our ELL classes. So we're really excited to have these 2 positions come on. It's going to be a great support for Ms. Booton and myself, and really boost the program and just have a much more cohesive program all across the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chopa. I'm looking for a recommendation to approve this position, this hire.
So I'll move to elect Dr. Alyssa Murphy to the district-wide position of ELL Coordinator 6 to 12 for the 2024-25 school year at an annual salary of $75,382.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for speaking to that. Do you want to stay there before we talk about the next position, or do you want to switch seats?
No, yeah, Miss Putnam is going to be a great asset for us. She has a background she was an ELA coach. She's certified in special education as well as ELL. I'm really lucky that she chose to bring her talents to the ELL department. So you can speak to her yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Chopa.
Keep scrolling.
Hello. Hi.
So, Erin, if you want to just give a brief history of your time in Nashua and why you think you're ready for this position.
I've been in Nashua for 15 years. I started my career in special education. I've been a classroom teacher, ELA coach district-wide, so I've experience working in all the 12 elementary schools and getting to know all the administrative teams, the ELL teams, classroom teacher teams, and then also I have this past year been an ELL teacher. At my time at Ledge Street Elementary School, we have a high population of multilingual learners, so that has definitely prepared me for this role coming up. In my ELA district-wide coaching role, I worked a lot with curriculum for ELA across the entire district, which I think will have definitely a lot of similarities going into this role for the ELL coordinator position.
Thank you. Does anyone have a question? Ms. Rand?
I'm not going to ask questions because we're running late, but I'm just super thrilled that we're promoting from within again, and I'm so excited that you're taking on this new role.
Thank you.
I'm looking for a motion then.
I move that we elect Erin Putnam to the district-wide position of ELL Coordinator K through 8 for the 24-25 school year at an annual salary of $73,544.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, the next administrative recommendation is for an assistant principal for Pennachuck Middle School.
She is not here tonight, but we did have the conversation. Another one who's on vacation in Florida. But we want to be able to move forward with this position. I did have the pleasure of interviewing her for over an hour, had a great conversation about her background, her readiness for the position. Again, talking about strengths and weaknesses that we heard from the interview committee. With her background and her ability to do the job, I have full confidence that Sarah Jean is a good fit for Pennachuck and she'll be able to do the job. Also had long conversations with the building principal and the assistant principal, again, on how this candidate will fit into the framework and the fabric of that team, and again, how we're going to move Pennachuck moving forward. So I fully support this recommendation tonight. And again, I think once at a future meeting that we can invite her and invite her to ask any questions or talk about her philosophy. But I think this is the right recommendation at the right time, and she's going to be a great fit at Pennachuck.
Thank you, Dr. Andrade. I'm looking for a motion.
All right, so I move that we elect Sarah Jean Phillips to the position of assistant principal at Pennachuck Middle School for the 2024-2025 school year at an annual salary of $88,100.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Great.
Finally, we have an administrative recommendation to hire a new chief operating officer.
So if we can have Mr. Graves come down.
Hello.
So if you want to just give a brief overview of your background and why you think you're ready for this position.
Yeah, absolutely. So hello again, everyone. So I joined you guys as your business administrator in October. So have definitely enjoyed my time here in Nashua. Big background in finance and accounting, as well as auditing and HR. Just excited to be part of the community, love the numbers, love the finances, excited to fill Dan's shoes, but also we're going to be, at a loss, but I'm excited to learn from him for sure. And I think, just based on my external experience from Fidelity Investments and Morgan Stanley, definitely your numbers person for sure. And just excited to have this new opportunity.
Thank you. Does anyone have a question?
No, I'm thrilled that you're promoting from within. I feel like you've been learning under Dan about how things work in Nashua for the last 8, 9, I don't know, a long time, since October. And I don't think Dan would be retiring if he didn't think you were ready. So, I don't know. Dan's been talking about retiring for years. So I feel like something has made him comfortable to go ahead and pull the plug and do it. So I'm happy to make the motion.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Unless anybody else
I'll
has
second the
questions.
motion.
All right, so the motion is to elect Crystal DeGray to the position of Chief Operating Officer at an annual salary of $125,000, effective July 1st, 2024.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay,
Then this says motion to approve the personnel recommendations, but we already did that.
we did that earlier, before we went into
Yeah, so I
non-public.
don't know why that's.
So I believe that, wow, this is the longest HR meeting that we've ever had since I've been on the HR committee. So I believe I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourning at 6:22 tonight. Thank you.